Hello and welcome to K News. This is Hardik Trivedi. Let's have a look what is happening in India and in the world. Pakistan fired a barrage of rockets across its southwestern border, killing 9 people and wounding 50 in an Afghan border town, Afghan officials said Friday. The exchange of fire that led to casualties in the town of Spinderbolek was instigated by Afghan border guards, Pakistan security official said. It was the latest cross-border exchange between the two countries. Earlier this month, Pakistan fired rockets into Afghanistan's northeastern Kunar province, killing 3 people. Cross-border exchanges have increased since Pakistan began raising a fence along its 2,500 kilometers border with Afghanistan known as the Durand Line. Pakistan considers the colonial era division created in 1893 as an international border, while Afghanistan flatly rejects it. Pakistan began building the fence in 2017, and since then the two sides have routinely exchanged fire. Pakistan says it needs the fence to block militants from crossing. Both Pakistan and Afghanistan accuse the other of harboring their enemies. Pakistan has been widely accused by Kabul and the US for providing safe haven to Taliban insurgents, while Islamabad says insurgents have found a sanctuary in Afghanistan's southern Kandahar. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam announced on Friday that the government will postpone highly anticipated legislative elections by 1 year, citing a worsening coronavirus outbreak in the semi-autonomous Chinese city. The Hong Kong government is invoking an emergency ordinance in delaying the elections. Lam said the government has the support of the Chinese government in making the decision. We want to ensure fairness, public safety and health, and need to make sure the election is held in an open, fair and impartial manner. This decision is therefore essential, she said. The postponement is a setback for pro-democracy opposition, which was hoping to capitalize on disenchantment with the current pro-Beijing majority to make gains. A group of 22 lawmakers issued a statement ahead of the announcement, accusing the government of using the outbreak as an excuse to delay the vote. Incumbent pro-democracy legislators, who represent 60% of the public's opinion, collectively oppose the postponement and emphasize the responsibility of the SAR government to make every effort to arrange adequate anti-epidemic measures to hold elections in September as scheduled, the statement said. Otherwise, it is tantamount of uprooting the foundation of the establishment of the SAR. On Thursday, 12 pro-democracy candidates, including prominent pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong, were disqualified for not complying with the city's mini-constitution or pledging alliance to the local and national governments. Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has committed 3 mistakes with his recent undiplomatic and irritating anti-India statements, a senior leader of the ruling Communist Party has said, amidst mounting pressures on the embattled premier who is facing calls for resignation. Last month, Prime Minister Oli alleged that India was conspiring with his political rivals to throw him out of power. His remark came over a week after Nepal approved a bill to redraw the country's map demarcating the Lipulekh mountain pass, Kalapani and Limpiadhura, the area at the center of the dispute between India and Nepal under its territory. The embattled Prime Minister stoked another controversy this month by claiming that the real Ayodhya lies not in India but in Nepal, and that Lord Ram was born in Thori in southern Nepal. Reacting to Oli's remark, spokesperson of Communist Party of Nepal and member of the powerful Central Secretariat Narayan Kaji Shrestha described the Prime Minister's statements as undiplomatic. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has committed a blunder by making irritating remarks against India at a time when there is a need for resolving the border issue through dialogue, he said. It was a mistake on the part of Prime Minister Oli to make irritating remarks by mentioning India's national symbol while claiming the disputed lands of Kalapani and Lipu Lake, the spokesperson told in an interview. At least 10 workers were killed and several others injured when a huge crane crashed on them at Hindustan Shipyard Limited, a central government undertaking in Andhra Pradesh's Vishakhapatnam on Saturday afternoon, the police said. The accident happened when the workers were carrying out an inspection on the crane used to carry equipment for shipbuilding. The massive crane suddenly crumbled and crashed to the ground with a massive sound. Around 20 workers were said to be working on the inspection when the crane crashed. Some workers managed to run for safety. Some others received injuries, and at least 10 workers were crushed under the weight of the crane, a police official said. According to the latest reports, 3 bodies were retrieved under the debris of the crane, and the remaining were believed to be crushed. The police, with the help of shipyard staff, are involved in the rescue operations. Further details are awaited. The injured workers are being shifted to the local hospitals, the police said. R.K. Meena, Vishakhapatnam's police commissioner, rushed to the spot to inquire into the case of the accident. The crane was bought by HSL almost a decade ago, and its operation was recently outsourced to a private agency. China has mobilized a battalion strength of People's Liberation Army near Uttarakhand's Lipu Lake Pass, one of the locations along the LAC that have witnessed the movement of Chinese troops over the last few weeks outside the Ladakh sector. People familiar with the matter told. There has been thinning of troops at the standoff points, but the disengagement is still work in progress. Simultaneously, Indian military officers in Ladakh noticed a huge effort by Chinese troops to bolster its strength in depth areas and give infrastructure projects on its side a hard push. Chinese troops have augmented its presence on its side of the LAC elsewhere too. There has been accretion of PLA troops across the LAC at Lipu Lake Pass, parts of North Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, a top military commander said. Lipu Lake Pass, which falls on the Mansarovar Yatra route, has been in headlines for the past few months after Nepal objected to a 80 kilometers road built by India to the Himalayan pass. The Lipu Lake Pass is also used for annual barter trade during June-October between tribal populations living on either side of the LAC. Apple surged over 10% to a record high on Friday after reporting blockbuster quarterly results, helping the iPhone maker eclipse Saudi Aramco to become the world's most valuable publicly listed company. Apple stock ended the session at $425, putting its market capitalization at
दुनिया की नजर आज हम पर टिकी है, जिसमें सिर्फ एक सवाल है, हमारा अगला कदम क्या है। तो जवाब ये है कि हम तैयार हैं पूरी तरह। पूरी दुनिया का दिल जीतने के लिए। अहमियत इस बात की नहीं कि आप किन बुलंदियों पर हैं, बल्कि इस बात की है कि यहां पहुंचने का हौसला किससे मिला। देश की मिट्टी से। कचारिया देश की मिट्टी से बनी टाइल से देश को बनाते हैं।
Welcome back to K News and thank you for watching. Let's continue the streak of news. The National Education Policy 2020 makes no mention of Chinese in a list of foreign languages offered as examples of elective that secondary schools students can study to learn about cultures of the world and enrich global knowledge according to interest and aspirations. A draft version of the NEP released in English last year did list Chinese along with French, German, Spanish and Japanese as examples of languages to be offered and available to interested students. The final version of the NEP launched by Union Ministers Prakash Javadekar and Ramesh Pokhriyal this week adds Korean, Russian, Portuguese and Thai to the list of examples. It is unclear at this time if the exclusion of Chinese from the list of examples of foreign languages that can be offered by schools means it will not available at school level. The omission of the Chinese language from the list of examples comes amid increasing military and economic tension with Beijing. In June, the government banned 59 Chinese origin mobile phone apps, including the hugely popular video sharing platform TikTok. The government said the apps were blocked in view to information available that they are engaged in activities prejudicial to sovereignty and integrity of India. This week, further 47 Chinese apps were banned for allegedly operating as clones of the banned apps. Senior journalist and Ram advocate Prashant Bhushan and former Union Minister Arun Shourie moved to the Supreme Court Saturday, challenging the Contempt of Courts Act, which they said had a chilling effect on the freedom of speech and expression as guaranteed by the Constitution, describing the 1971 Act as unconstitutional and against the basic structure of Constitution. The petitioners asked the court to quash certain provisions. The petition argued that the impugned sub-action is unconstitutional as it is incompatible with values and basic features of the Constitution. The challenge to the Contempt of Courts Act comes days before the top court is to hear contempt proceedings against Mr. Bhushan over serious allegations against the judiciary. On Saturday, Mr. Bhushan also moved the court over the contempt case against him, wanting the order to be recalled. He said the court had initiated proceedings based on a petition by advocate Mahek Maheshwari that he said was illegal and had to be cancelled. Mr. Bhushan's petition said Mahek Maheshwari did not obtain permission from the Attorney General, which is a must for filing contempt petitions. It was initially indicated that the Supreme Court took up the contempt case against Mr. Bhushan on its own. It was later found out that it was based on a petition by Mahek Maheshwari. The matter is to be heard next on August 4. The Bhushan has a second contempt proceedings against him, an 11-year-old case over comments to a news publication on former Chief Justices of India. Meanwhile, as many as 131 personalities, including former judges, authors, former government servants and journalists, opposed the court moves and wanted proceedings against Mr. Bhushan to be dropped. Veteran BJP leaders L.K. Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi will definitely be invited to the groundbreaking ceremony for building of a temple in UP's Ayodhya on August 5. Sources in the trust set up to oversee the construction said on Saturday, hours after it seemed that neither would receive such an invitation. Both will be invited via phone calls, as all other leaders have been too, sources added. The invitations are being coordinated by Champat Rai, the General Secretary of the Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust, which was set up by Supreme Court after its landmark verdict in November last year. Former Union Minister Uma Bharti and former Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Kalyan Singh, who told he had no regret over the events of December 6, 1992, when the Babri Mosque was destroyed, and that he already paid the price, got their invitations today. They have said that they will be at the event, for which Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also been invited and will attend. Last week, Mr. Advani appeared before a special CBI court in Lucknow via video link to answer questions relating to the mosque razing. Mr. Advani, who is among the accused in the case and was asked more than 1,000 questions over 4.5 hours, has denied all charges according to his lawyer. Mr. Joshi, another senior BJP leader who recorded his statement before the same court, said that those who had deposed against him done so for political reasons and that all allegations against him were false. Mr. Advani, Mr. Joshi and Uma Bharti are among the BJP leaders accused of conspiracy. A mid-air plane collision in Anchorage on Friday killed 7 people, including a state lawmaker who has piloting one of the aircraft, Alaska officials said. There were no survivors of the crash near the airport in Soldanta, a city on the Kenai Peninsula, the Alaska State Troopers said in a written statement. The state representative Gary Knoop, who represented the area, was alone in one of the planes. The other plane was carrying 4 tourists from South Carolina, a guide from Kansas and a pilot from Soldotna. The trooper said all 7 victims were pronounced dead at the site except for one person who died while being transported to a hospital, according to the troopers. Crash debris fell on highway, which was shut down briefly out of safety concerns. The Federal Aviation Administration identified one of the planes as a de-Havilland DHC-2 Beaver. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the crash. Knoop was a Republican and a member of the State House bipartisan majority. Several colleagues expressed condolences. The decks have been cleared for Andhra Pradesh to go ahead with its plan to have 3 capitals for the state after Telangana was carved out of its separate state in 2014. Governor Bishwa Bhushan signed 2 bills on Friday: the Andhra Pradesh Decentralization and Inclusive Development of All Regions Bill 2020 and the Arunachal Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority Bill 2020. The bills were sent to the governor on July 18 and were formally signed yesterday. The new tri-capital plan of the Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy government involves setting up executive, legislative and judicial capitals at Vishakhapatnam, Amravati and Kurnool respectively. The officers of the Chief Minister and Governor will be at Vishakhapatnam. The State Assembly proceedings will happen in Amravati and the High Court will be located in Kurnool. Farmers who feel they lost out because the capital is shifted out of Amravati have approached the High Court against the new plan of the YSR Congress government. Telugu Desam Party chief and former Chief Minister and Chandrababu Naidu called the governor's decision on the three capital plan a historic blunder. He termed the decision as unlawful as it is in violation of the Arunachal Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014. The government now intends to constitute a new Amravati Metropolitan Region Development Area under the provisions of Arunachal Pradesh Metropolitan Region and Urban Development Authorities Act 2016. GST collections in July fell to rupees 87,000 crore from rupees 90,000 crore in June, according to a Finance Ministry statement. However, July collections are higher than rupees 62,000 crore in May and rupees 32,000 crore in April. The gross GST revenue collected in the month of July 2020 is rupees 87,422 crore, of which CGST is rupees 16,147 crore, SGST is rupees 21,418 crore, IGST is rupees 42,592 crore, including rupees 20,322 crore collected on import of goods, and cess is rupees 7,265 crore. A Finance Ministry statement said the revenues for the month are 86% of the GST revenues in same month last year. The ministry further said although the June collections were higher than that in July, however, it is important to note that during the previous month, a large number of taxpayers also paid taxes pertaining to February, March and April on account of the relief provided due to COVID-19. It may also be noted that the taxpayers with turnover less than rupees 5 crore continue to enjoy relaxation in filing of returns till September 2020. The government will soon come out with a new public sector enterprises policy that will define strategic sectors which will not have more than 4 PSUs, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said on Saturday. As part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan package, the Finance Minister in May had announced that there will be a maximum of 4 public sector companies in strategic sectors, and state-owned firms in other segments will eventually be privatized. We are working on it. It should go to cabinet soon, she said in an interaction with media when asked about the strategic sector list. She said there could be various models to achieve minimum 4 PSUs in case of those falling under the strategic sector. Either they will be merged or they will be brought together in such a way that there are only 4 or lesser, she said. Under the policy, a list of strategic sectors will be notified where there will be at least 1 and a maximum of 4 public sector enterprises apart from private sector companies. In other sectors, central public sector enterprises will be privatized depending upon the feasibility. Asked about the privatization of the banks, she said the government has only cleared the proposal to privatize IDBI Bank so far. The government currently owns 46.5% stake in IDBI Bank. In January 2019, LIC completed acquisition of 51% controlling stake in the lender. The state-owned life insurer infused rupees 21,624 crore into the bank. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday said that young India is a storehouse of talent and brimming with innovative and creative solutions to the country's problems. And with a few guidance, students would go a long way in taking India forward amid COVID-19 pandemic and the new global scenario that would emerge once the health crisis is over. It was a huge challenge to conduct the hackathon in the times of coronavirus. It is amazing to see it happening despite the severe challenges. I congratulate the participants and the organizers for rising the occasion and making the event possible, PM Modi said. PM Modi praised the concept of rainfall prediction model that was put forward by one of the finalists and said that he appreciated the step and encouraged the student, saying that the innovation is successful would be immense help to the farmers. The Prime Minister was addressing students at the Smart India Hackathon 2020 grand finale through video conferencing. This year, around 10,000 students are participating in the hackathon. The grand finale of the Smart India Hackathon 2020 will be held from August 1 to 3. The hackathon is being organized by the HRD Ministries, All India Council for Technical Education, Persistent Systems and I4C. The hackathon is a nationwide initiative to provide students with a platform to solve some of the pressing problems people face in daily lives and thus inculcate a culture of product innovation and a mindset of problem solving. That's all for now. Keep watching K News. This is Hardik Trivedi taking your leave. Be alert, be positive, be safe.